they made a study of the working of the 1919 Act, and finally they submitted their report. Later, what happened? So there was a change of guard in Britain. Ramsay MacDonald, he became the prime minister. A very important and significant development that you would see. And Lord Irwin, he became the viceroy of India. So now this is the time Ramsay MacDonald as the British premier or the British prime minister, and Lord Irwin in India, he was the viceroy. Now Indians were demanding all these things. They wanted dominion status, nothing less than dominion status. They wanted full freedom. But then the British were reluctant, simply they were reluctant to grant this. And the Simon Commission report was submitted, and they never recommended for granting, dominion status for India. In fact, they were, speaking more in terms of giving, autonomy at the center, subject to the scrutiny of the British government. So that way, they were not prepared to concede anything as far as the political autonomy of Indians, was concerned. Now, Lord Irwin, he met Ramsay MacDonald in England, and he came back to India on 31st October 1929. So you'll have to be a little specific about these dates. And he said to Indians, or Indians means, we were represented through organizations, and majorly it was the Congress Party. So he told Indians, I quote him, I am authorized on behalf of His Majesty's government to state clearly that in their judgment, it is implicit in the Declaration of 1917 that natural issue of India's constitutional progress as then contemplated is the attainment of dominion status. So again, this is linked to 1917 declaration. There is a background to that. On 20th August 1917, Montagu made a statement. Montagu, Secretary of State, made a statement. Progressive realization of the responsible government is the motto of British government. That was the important declaration. So look at the wordings. Progressive realization of the responsible government. What do you mean by that? Progressive realization means, step by step we would be giving. At once we would never give. Step by step. So when now in 1929, we were demanding 1927, 28, 29, when we were demanding, Indians, we were demanding that give us, dominion status, they still kept saying that we stick to the 20th August 1917 declaration, saying that progressive realization of the responsible government is important. When are they going to give? It is a very clear signal the British were not prepared to give or concede dominion status. That means a full political autonomy for us to run our government, take decisions both on internal issues and also external issues. So this stage is very clear. What happened after that? Followed by the Lahore Congress. This is a very significant. Very recently, we have celebrated 74th, Republic Day in India. Why it was celebrated? It was only to celebrate the decision that was celebrated on 31st December 1929 as a fallout of the Lahore Declaration of the Congress. What was the declaration? The declaration was Purna Swaraj. We would celebrate 26 Jan 1930, 26 January 1930 as the Purna Swaraj Day. That means full Independence Day. It's a very, very historic day for all of us. Today, if we are in the liberal space of the Indian democracy, we have our own internal issues. We may quarrel with each other. We may have our own differences with each other ideologically and even otherwise. But the basic fact remains that we are an independent country. We have our own independent space. So this decision was taken by the Congress then in 1929 on declared on the 31st of December 1929 that India would be celebrating on 26th January 1930 its full Independence Day. So that way it's a very, very important significant day, Purna Swaraj Day. So then what happened? Negotiations started between the government and the Congress. Now Gandhi started becoming very active. So it was almost a phase when developments were getting ready for the launch of the civil disobedience movement. Now, there was some kind of a negotiation happening between Lord Irwin and Gandhi. Gandhi met Lord Irwin 6 times. He met, Lord Irwin 6 times, and he gave him the Lister charts. If you look at these Lister charts, you would understand that ultimately it is nothing but the dominion status or freedom to this country, nothing less than that. So he gave the list of 11 demands, and he wrote a letter. Gandhi wrote a letter on 2nd March 1930. 1930, and gave time till 11th March 1930, and gave time till 19 March 11th 1930 to address the demands submitted by the Congress under the leadership of himself, Gandhi. Irwin did not take it seriously in the beginning. Then finally, after the negotiation, a pact was signed. A pact was signed, and but it was a failure. The government did not care to implement the pact. The result was Gandhi decided to launch the civil disobedience movement on 12th of March 1930. So please mark this date as a very important and a significant date as far as Indian history is concerned, that he started the Dandi March as part of the civil disobedience movement on 12th March 1930 with 79 trained and disciplined workers. They were not just the followers of Gandhi. He picked up, he chose them, and they were given rigorous training how to remain disciplined, because Gandhi knew fully well, these satyagrahis would be enraged with one issue or the other by the government. They would be made to resort to the violence. But Gandhi had very strictly warned them and had given them nice training how to remain disciplined in spite of the fact the possible instigation by the government to make them indulge in the violent acts. Now, it was a distance of 200 miles from Sabarmati Ashram. So this distance of 200 miles to reach the shore was made use of by Gandhi to convert the entire procession into a mass awakening movement. It is not a very ordinary event that generally you would notice in the history of humankind. Now, this decision to take a long march covering 200 miles to reach the shore was converted into a huge mass movement. It was not, the activities were not just confined to these satyagrahis, 79 satyagrahis who accompanied Gandhi. Across India, there were branches of the Congress, and these branches across India, they tried to carry out the instructions given to them in their local areas. They had to carry out the messages that were given to them. And for example, Karnataka, in Siddhapur, Ankola, on the same day, 6th April 1930, salt was produced here. On the day when salt was, picked up from the shore, at the shore, when Gandhi and his associates, reached there. So therefore, civil disobedience movement was not just confined to breaking the salt laws of the British by picking up salt and selling them openly, breaking the British law. It was a momentum in the history of India to convert the entire times into a mass mobilization times. The entire, if you look at the number of autobiographical sketches of many stalwarts who later emerged as big, say for example, Shivram Karanth in the context of Karnataka. Most of them, they left schools and colleges, and they, whole time they invested themselves in this movement. They totally involved in this movement. That was the level of the strength of this movement, which caught the imagination of the masses. Usually it is not that easy to catch the imagination of the people. But now Gandhi, with this technique of salt breaking laws, movement, civil disobedience movement, he was able to convert the entire mass mobilization into a huge protest movement against the British. So this was a very important and a very significant development that we would see. As a result of this, the government started coming to negotiating table. They understood it was very difficult to contain the growing aspirations of the Indians. It was very difficult to control the Indian, psyche now. So therefore, now they started coming to negotiating table. What they suggested was